In 1915, the Sisters of Mercy created St. Xavier College.
It was what Catherine wanted, to educate women. So it was meant for people who are not of the upper class. It was meant to be people, who needed an education and needed to be raised, but always depending on those who had more means to support and to help. At that time, there was a need for the Catholic population from Europe was growing here, and so there was a need to take care of their spiritual needs as well as their educational needs.
In 1871, after the Chicago fire, the Academy then changed its location to 29th and Wabash.
Eventually it's going to go further south to 49th and Cottage Grove, where it'll stay. It's when they open the college at the same time, or it'll stay until they move out to its present location.
The move to 103rd and Central Park liberated not only the college from the academy, but also liberated the sisters from their authority.
People at 49th and Cottage Grove were upset because they thought that we were fleeing because of the racial mix that was beginning to be there, African Americans largely. And it was not that. The bishops again who said, and the priests who said, stay on the south side, move further out, and and the enrollment was growing too. So it was becoming very tight in terms of the building itself.
During the Second Vatican Council, the Sisters of Mercy, alongside many other Catholic institutions, were able to critically examine and approach their values in a process called renewal.
College, in some ways, was kind of a center for a lot of change. They go through this long process of renewal, which, Vatican Council's 4 years. The renewal process goes, I would have to say, over 10.
There was also a lot of turmoil. It upended things for a lot of people. As you're probably aware, a lot of women were no longer sisters within a few years after the conclusion of the council. I don't think it was the intent of the council. Certainly the church fathers never expected that the innovations they brought about would result in this mass exodus. I don't think you can rejoice over the sisters that we have without having some regret over the sisters that we lost.
The council closed in 1965, in December of 65. That April of 1966, all of the major theological architects that were in Rome for the Second Vatican Council came here, in the room we're sitting in, and in the auditorium, and the library, and in every place there was, because there was a conference here called John the 23rd Symposium that they thought would be small, ended up with 3,000 people. And across newspapers was this little Catholic college on the south side of Chicago run by these sisters, was in a national debate over academic freedom.
When you talk about the Second Vatican Council, that's a historic moment of monumental proportions. I know the then Cardinal Archbishop of Chicago tried to prevent it. I know that some of the very astute and wise women who ran St. Xavier at the time managed to make it come off. And it was, I think, one of our proudest moments.
Despite the college's increased visibility in the middle 1960s, it soon faced severe enrollment challenges which they would have to correct.
Yeah, a lot of women's colleges in the 20th century faced declining enrollment as you get closer to the 60s and 70s. Single-sex female colleges had a hard time surviving in the competitive market of colleges. And so you see a lot of both Catholic and non-Catholic schools, women's colleges, either having to go co-ed very slowly, maybe a few men here and there, or closing their doors.